Hello, welcome to this video for students in Essential Math 40S. You should only be looking at this video as you're going into your provincial exam near the end of the course. And what we want to look at here is questions that have been repeated year after year on the provincial exam. They are the same questions word for word every year, and so you should prepare yourself for these questions. And you can even put the answers right on your resource sheet to help you answer them when you do see them on your exam. Your teacher probably talked about this a little bit in the three topics where they show up. The three repeated questions show up from sine law and cosine law. That's one of the questions on either one of those two topics. Polynomials and tolerance. So we're going to walk you through what the questions are and how you can answer them. So again, you can use your cheat sheet or your resource paper and you can write the answers down. That's a good deal. So that's free marks for you if you just take the time to jot down what I'm telling you here or what your teacher told you as you work through. So we're going to look at the questions, and I've put here, feel free to copy the responses and use them as your own. You can come up with your own if you want to, but if you do that, you should check with your teacher to make sure they are sufficient before you go into the exam. So first of all, the first question we're going to look at is a question. It'll either be on cosine law or sine law, and I will do both of them down the bottom here, both answers. Otherwise, the question's identical. So it says the cosine law, and that's where I'm putting a note here. So this isn't part of the question. That's me putting that in there. It could say the sine law. The cosine law is often used in construction, commercial, industrial, or artistic applications, meaning it's used outside of math class. So it says to demonstrate one use of the cosine law in the real world by performing the following two steps. State a specific example where cosine law is used and support your example with a written explanation of how it's used. And then sketch a picture or diagram that it supports your example. Okay, so I'm going to look at, we'll start with cosine law, and I'll do this as if it said sine law in just a second. It's going to be very similar. Okay. The example I'm going to give is building rafters. And you have to forgive my printing. It's not that great on this little computer thing. For a house, a rafter is the pieces of wood that hold up the roof. And you can say cosine law is used to cut boards the correct length. That is one place where the cosine law could definitely be used. Most rafters at the houses I look at anyway are triangles. And so you need to know how long to cut these boards to build that rafter, and you could use cosine law to figure that out. Now when it asks for a diagram, you don't have to draw a house, you don't have to draw specific rafters, you just have to draw a triangle, think a roof of a house maybe, and then you have to put labels on it where this would become a cosine law question. So hopefully you remember from when your teacher went through it, a cosine law question is when you're given all three sides, or when you're given two sides and the included angle. And that's what I'm going to put here for an example. I'm going to say that whoever's making this house wants this angle to be 30 degrees. They want this side to be 50 whatevers. You'll notice I'm not even putting a unit in here. And they want this side to be, well, let's make it different, 35 whatevers. Okay. You don't have to solve this problem. You don't have to put it into the cosine law and find the missing side. You just have to give an example that somebody would use the cosine law to solve. This gets you 2 marks, one for building rafters, one for saying you're going to cut the boards to the correct length, and one for the diagram. If the question said sine law, this text part would be exactly the same, except of course you would say sine law instead of cosine law. The rest would be the same. I won't put you through watching me write it all down again. And then for the diagram, you would still draw a triangle. It doesn't have to be pretty, just like mine, But now if they said sign law, you have to put in labels that would make this a sign law question. So remember, in a sign law question, you need to have partners. I don't know what your teacher might have called it. You need an angle on the side opposite that angle, right? So I could say, oh, there's an example. This is almost a sign law question because I have the partners. I just need a different side. And there we go. That's a sign law question. Again, you don't have to solve it. You don't have to use the sign law. You don't need an answer. You're just coming up with an example where somebody might use the sign law to solve it. Okay. So again, same situation, pretty close to the same diagram. Just make sure you're doing a cosine law diagram or a sine law diagram, depending on what it asks you for right here. Again, feel free to pause the video. You can copy that down. You can put it on your resource package. You can put it in your exam, and there's 3 marks for you. The next question's on polygons. It sort of starts the same way. You'll see when you get to the exam, this opening sentence tells you you're on one of these questions. Polygons are often used in construction, commercial, industrial, or artistic applications. So you have to demonstrate one use of the properties of polygons by performing the following 2 steps. So again, you have to state where it's used, say an explanation of how it's used, and draw a picture. Okay? They're only going to ask about polygons. There is no 2 things here. So my example is dome stadiums. And polygons are used to fit roof pieces together. Okay? You don't have to say how or give any specific examples. Just go with that. Now, by stadium, I hope you know what I mean. I'm talking like a football stadium or a soccer stadium. And then you just need to draw a little stadium. Again, it doesn't have to be fancy. And then put a polygon or 2 up on your stadium picture, just so you can show that you know what a polygon is. So there's a pentagon with the start of another pentagon there. There's 2 pentagons fitting together. And there you go, 3 marks. Example, explanation of the example, and a little picture. You don't have to put measurements on there or anything, just a little picture. A quick note, I'll put this over here, I'll put a big X by it. Do not use a stop sign as your example. Even though that is a use of a polygon in the real world, it's not a use of the properties of polygons according to the Department of Education. So do not use a stop sign. You will not get the marks if you use a stop sign. So use the example I gave you here and you'll be safe. The last one's tolerance. It doesn't show it here, but this is normally just a 2-mark question because you don't need to draw a picture with it. It says tolerance is often used in construction, commercial, industrial, or artistic applications. There's that beginning again. And then demonstrate one use of tolerance in the real world by performing the following 2 steps. State an example where tolerance is used and support your example with a written explanation. So I'm going to give you one that's close, near and dear to my heart. I'm going to say pizza making. And you can say something like pizza places need to make pizzas close to a given size, which makes sense. If you order a 10-inch pizza and it comes to your table and it's 4 inches across, you're not going to be happy, right? And then you could even give some kind of, you could go like from 12 inches to 10 inches. You could give an example of tolerance if you want to go even further. And there you go, 1 mark for the example and 1 mark for the explanation. And this just is bonus excellence. Okay, so again, you can pause the video and jot that down. So I would suggest to you, seeing as you know these are coming on your exam, put them down somewhere and bring them with you to the exam, these 3 answers. And then that way you're going to get 2 and 3 is 8 marks on your exam for free as my gift to you. Thanks for watching the video.